Good afternoon. It's 1:03 p.m. Welcome to the joint hearing of the Committees on Housing and Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we have to end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at 1 p.m. Thursday, February 17th, in room 225, this room, and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. We have a 1 minute per testifier time limit. This meeting just has one agenda, the 1 p.m. agenda, joint agenda between the Committees on Housing and Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts. I'd like to welcome our Vice Chair, Senator Akimoto, and committee members, Senators Rhodes and Elefante, as well as Chair Lee from the Committee on Water and Land. Do you have any members here?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, our first measure today is Senate Bill 2068 relating to affordable housing, which establishes the Affordable Housing Land Inventory Task Force within the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development to conduct a study subject to legislative appropriation on how to maximize housing development in transit-oriented development zones or other areas on state and county lands. Requires a report to the legislature and appropriates funds. Our first testifier is HHFTC with comments.
Chair, I'd like to remember, HHFTC stands on its testimony offering comments.
Thank you. Our second testifier is HPHA in support.
HPHA stands on its written testimony in support.
Thank you. Followed by HCDA with comments.
Craig Nakamoto, stand on written testimony and comments.
Thank you. OPSD with comments.
Stand on our written testimony and comment.
Housing Hawaii's Future in support.
Stand on our written testimony in support.
Thank you. AARP Hawaii in support. Jacob Wiencheck in support. Johnny May L. Perry in support. Sarah Lenzer Medeiros with comments. And Rebecca Coway in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on Senate Bill 2068? Okay, if not, members, any questions? Okay, Chair does have a question for OPSD.
Chairs, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So you mentioned in your testimony that you are leading this internal working group.
Yes.
Will it produce a list of priority parcels for redevelopment? How many units, listing how many units to be built at each and when?
We are working on a list, and as you know, right, OPSD is also one of the co-chairs of the TOD Council. So they have a list, right, of projects that we want to move forward in the TOD areas. My understanding of the bill also expands it into other areas as well, right, neighbor islands and also other state and county lands. Those we need to get the list from these other areas that have their own lists. Governor's office has a list of pipeline projects, etc. So we need to take a look at that and come up with a comprehensive list, if you will. That is ongoing. I can't tell you how many units on there, and I can't give you a time frame at this time.
How much money would you need to complete that?
If we were to look at this bill in 2068,
Well,
or-
to be more specific, to produce a list of parcels that would produce enough housing capacity for the entire state for 100 more years.
for 100 more years, I would say that effort, if I were to look at a position and possibly some contractual services, the ballpark I can give you now is 250,000.
Thank you. Members, any further questions? If not, thank you very much. Our next bill is Senate Bill 2227 relating to rental assistance. Requires HPHA to award monthly rent supplement payments on behalf of qualified tenants under the state rent supplement program, prioritizing certain tenants including Kupuna. Authorizes HPHA to enter into memoranda of agreement for rent supplement payments with the counties or specialized nonprofit organizations, amends provisions relating to the state rent supplement program, establishes the state rent supplement program special fund, requires DLNR to assess a transaction fee for each applicable recording in the office of the Assistant Registrar of the Land Court or the Bureau of Conveyances to be deposited into the state rent supplement program special fund, and repeals the existing separate state rent supplement program for Kupuna. Our first testifier is HPHA in support.
HHA stands on its testimony and support.
Thank you. Department of the Attorney General, comments?
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Attorney General Chase Suzumoto. We provided our written comments on Senate Bill 2227. In our testimony specifically, we recommend amending the bill to properly describe the transaction fee as a tax. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Policy Advisory Board on Elderly Affairs with comments? Aloha United Way in support, John A.H. Tomoso in support, Johnny May L. Perry and Veronica Moore in support, and Rebecca Cowie in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on Senate Bill 2227? Okay, if not, members, any questions?
Just one HCDA on 2061.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry,
not there yet. Well, speaking of which, why don't we,
my mistake. Ahead of myself.
yeah, we'll hand it over to you to get to that very bill.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Let's move on to Senate Bill 2061 relating to residential condominiums, which clarifies the 99-year leasehold program to require at least 60% of the residential condominium units within urban redevelopment sites to be set aside for owner-occupied residential uses, and makes a number of other amendments related to this project. So up first, testifying on 2061 is HCDA. All right, got my timing right now.
Now it's my turn. So Chair, Vice Chair, regarding my testimony submitted, I think with this amendment, what we're trying to do is kind of balance and maintain some of the owner-occupant requirements that were in Act 97, but at the same time, remove those restrictions that we thought that could inhibit the sale of units in this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Signed up next to testify on 2061 is Kolaila LLC in person. Oh, good afternoon.
Yes, I'm project manager for Kolaila LLC, and I have to look at my statement. Sorry. Yeah, my name's Henry Chang, and I'm in support of SB 2061. The bill provides important amendments to Act 97, the 99-year leasehold program enacted to promote creation of affordable housing. HCDA and our team have assessed the feasibility of a demonstration project and believe these amended development criteria will support the success of the project.
Thank you. That's everyone who had signed up to testify on SB 2061. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Oh, please come forward. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Senators. My name is William Ewan. I'm also testifying on behalf of Kolaila LLC as their attorney. I am testifying in support of SB 2061. I believe the proposed amendments are necessary to keep the demonstration project both affordable and attractive to Hawaii residents while assuring its financial feasibility. I'm also suggesting that one of the proposed amendments be further amended. The amendment to Section 206E-283A be amended to make it clear that the restriction on owner-occupant residential use is also applicable to the affordable priced units that are priced for households with an income of up to 140% of the area median income. I submitted the written testimony late, and I'm not sure if it got in, or I have one copy I can give to
We'll
somebody.
make sure it's added to the record.
Yeah. Can I give this?
Yeah. One of our
clerk?
staff
Yeah.
will collect that. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Okay, anybody else wishing to testify in 2061? Seeing none, are there any questions?
I have a question for Kalila, actually.
Sure.
For Kalila?
Yes,
Well, thank you for being here.
thank you.
If this bill does get passed, would the project move forward?
We have to go through construction documents and final pricing, and we are hopeful that it will. There are indications that other commercial projects that are subject to the same kind of construction pricing that we're subject to are close to being able to proceed. And so that gives us some confidence that we will be able to proceed. But we just need to get through the process and, avoid any strange market bullets that may come past us, because that's happened in the past. But generally, we're intending to go full blast at it and make the project happen.
Is there anything else that you would be asking the legislature for to change this to a green light?
Not that I'm looking for. At this point in time, I think we probably have adequate support based on this amendment to proceed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions?
Yes. For the developer, Kolila, in the testimony from HCDA, it mentioned about you folks completing market studies. Have you done market studies regarding parking?
We have not conducted a specific market study regarding parking, but our experience is that so long as you have standard stalls, say 2 parking stalls for 2-bedroom units and larger, and 1 parking stall for 1-bedroom units, basically that tends to satisfy buyers so long as they don't have to deal with tandem stalls, which we experienced in our past projects.
So the intention is to look at developing parking stalls for some of your units.
Yeah, the program intends, I believe I've got this right, intends on the parking stalls being owned by HCDA.
Sorry, Senator Elefante, let me
Yes.
elaborate on what Mr. Chang said. So as we're contemplating the project right now, the parking stalls will be kind of unbundled.
Sorry, I can't hear you
Oh,
quite well,
sorry.
Director
Sorry.
Nakamoto. If you could speak into the mic,
Sorry.
please. Thank you.
Sorry. Just to elaborate on what Mr. Chang said, right now, the plans for the parking, or as the parking stalls will be sort of unbundled from the unit, so people will be able to either lease a parking stall or not lease a parking stall. The parking garage with the $15 million equity that we're putting into the project will be, in essence, to purchase the parking garage, which purchase the parking garage and the commercial spaces. And to, I think, the project's initial parameters, we were hoping that the revenues from the parking garage and the commercial will kind of seed future projects like this. If we can replicate it, the revenues from the parking garage will seed other projects.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, chairs.
Then I have a question. So that means that if the condominium becomes available for purchase, then the option for the purchaser is out there whether you want to pay for parking, or because you're saying you're going to charge the parking, it doesn't come with the development.
So, so Senator, just to clarify, this will be a 99-year leasehold for sale product. So it'll be all for sale. 60% of the units will be made available for buyers with an income of 140% AMI or lower. 40% will be market. So they'll all be for sale. The parking, though, will not be attached to the units like they are in some other projects. They'll be unbundled. So if you.
Why?
Well, we just kind of, it keeps the cost of the unit as low as possible. And, you know, in a project like this where margins are tight, we want to try our best to keep the cost low. And when you have parking that goes with it, it just increases the whole overall cost of a unit. So, you know, the developer and HCD work together to say, let's just unbundle the parking. If you want it, you can buy it or lease it. If you don't want it, you don't have to lease it. But it's all, both parking leases are going to be coterminous, right? You have 99-year parking leases, 99-year apartment leases. Did I answer your question or?
Not really.
Oh, okay, no, tell me, because
Well, you're saying, okay, you're going to build a parking garage.
yes,
Okay, a purchaser will be able to buy their condo, but you're giving them an option whether they want to buy a parking stall.
that is correct.
Or both, if it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom,
Well,
whatever. So with that said, you may have parking empty stalls if people don't buy the parking.
Lease a parking, not buy it, lease it, yeah. So you're right.
Okay.
You can buy a unit, but not buy parking or lease parking, or you can buy a unit and lease parking.
And didn't we just pass a measure, a bill that we're telling people that we're not allowing them to park on the city roads just recently? So that means that they're going to end up, huh?
In TOD areas.
Yeah, in TOD areas. Is this project in TOD areas?
It's gonna be,
It
yes.
will be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because aren't we trying to address the home occupied for certain income
But
brackets?
I think it gives, like, the parking situation gives people the option to lease or not. And if they don't want a car, they don't want to drive, then they don't have to lease a unit, a parking stall.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I want to comment, for the Ward Jack in the Box location, there's really nowhere for anybody to park on the street. So really, I think, and most people, they want a place to put their car. So most people will rent,
I agree.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Now, also, if this is a lease project, didn't we also say that if they want to purchase,
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
there was something, was it in your testimony with regards to purchasing the unit, purchasing the land area? But this is leasehold, right?
No, I don't know, if that was in testimony, that's not correct. This is
Okay,
gonna be,
That's part of the, I guess, the clarification of the measure.
it's gonna be a leasehold, 99-year
Okay.
lease.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
Senator Rhodes.
Senate Roads, I think.
Oh, thanks. I'm just curious, so when you do build a parking stall for somebody in a condo tower like that, how much extra do you charge for, I'm sorry, this isn't exactly the situation you're talking about. If you are buying the condo and the parking stall, buying them both, not leasing the second one, how much extra does one parking stall add to the price?
Maybe Henry.
Well, we don't have a program to sell the parking spaces because the parking space will be owned by HCDA and an income stream for HCDA.
Okay, well, let me ask the more specific question then. So when you're building the parking structure, how much does each unit cost? Each parking unit cost?
And maybe Henry can add to this, but when I've heard that in order to, the per stall cost to build a parking stall, I think it's about 100,000 per stall. Is that?
I think, I'd have to.
Yeah,
go
but
back
I'll
and
get
calculate.
back to you on that.
It's tens of thousands of dollars anyway. So, I mean, I guess the other question is, why not just let the market decide? If the person buying or renting doesn't want to, if they really, really want to have a car, then this isn't the place for them. Isn't that a fair,
Right.
they just have to go somewhere else? I mean, plenty of places have parking stalls.
Yeah, if the person is going to enter into this 99-year lease doesn't want a car, maybe this is the place for them because they don't have to get, you know,
And it'll be cheaper.
it'd be cheaper for them, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but now, but in terms of the 99-year lease, I'm sorry, this is probably in the bill that I haven't read completely, so you can sell it at some point, or you can, how does it, because people move up, right? Maybe at first you can't afford a place with a parking stall, and 10 years from now you can.
So there is a right of first refusal, Senator Rhodes,
Okay.
that's built in. And this right of first refusal is at a prescribed formula price. And it's, I think the term for that right of first refusal to the HCDA is 5 years. And then there's a process for selling.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks, Chairs.
Thank you.
Then another question. Since you're up here, are there plans for you, are you a developer?
My brother is a developer, I'm his project manager.
Okay, so this is project specific then. You already have a developer.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Kulaila finished all the pre-development work under Act 97.
Yeah.
There was $1.5 million that was appropriated for pre-development work. Mr. Chang and his brother, as a developer, finished
Where
up their
is the project?
at the corner of Ward and Kapilani, the Jack in a Box site and the old Gallagher office, law office, where the Obama mural is, on the corner of Ward and Kapilani.
So you're in the heart of actually
Kaka.
Kaka'ako.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, as Senator does say that if one is looking for a reasonable priced condominium, and it doesn't include parking, they'll just go somewhere else.
If I could say that there will be the ratio of parking is approximately 1 parking space per 1-bedroom unit and 2 parking spaces for the availability of 2 parking spaces for 2 bedroom or larger units. So I don't think it's actually been defined in the sales program, but one would think that there could be a first opportunity for unit buyers to exercise their right to rent 2 parking spaces for the 2-bedroom and larger units and 1 parking space before there accrues like an excess of parking space that people could get, say, three parking spaces they wanted to.
So if available, they can rent instead of purchasing, are you saying?
Go ahead.
I think there should be adequate parking spaces for everybody who wants parking spaces to be able to rent them.
Is this pretty much what HCDA does? Or is this the first time that you're actually in control, that if they want to buy a parking stall, or they won't, but is that part of HCDA's policy
this is
in
not-
all of the building?
This is not the first time that we've developed a project in Kakako that has a parking program like this. The Nohona Hale affordable rental project that's on Cook Street has no parking, as an example. I think in our Mauka area rules, we've revised them to take out the parking minimums, off-site parking minimums, to be consistent with how the city is looking at off-site parking, off-street parking. So it's not the first time we've done, a different kind of view towards parking. But I think, as we said, we wanted to try to keep the cost down to the.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's in Honolulu, in Kaka'ako, the goal was you can live, work, and play within the region, so no need for a car. But it's just, I'm not sure. It's sort of, kind of like something we're trying to have people not to park, on off-street.
Yeah. And Senator, I think the reality, though, is we can say that the parking is going to be separately leased and not bundled with the unit. But as you go out with marketing and sales for this, the market may tell us that they really want a parking stall. The reality is, I don't know if people are yet willing to give up their their car just yet, even in a neighborhood like Kakako. So only marketing will determine what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Yeah, we could not proceed offering less parking spaces, less than 2 parking spaces per 2-bedroom and, larger units. That's the absolute minimum, I think.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Sure. Other questions? Oh, Senator Rhodes.
In terms, because there is sort of a middle ground here too, which is car shares. So, I mean, I've used HOU-WLA for years, and I don't need a car very often, but some things you really need a car for. So if you dedicated like 10 of your units to a HOU-WLA car share, that would cover a bunch of people who really don't want to buy a car but feel like they need one sometimes. But have you considered that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, we have direct experience with that on Iolani, where we partnered with Servco to put HOU-WLA's cars on site. They actually, for 328 units, around half of them are 1-bedrooms, the rest are 2-bedrooms. They have enough demand for 1 car on site. And we were shocked. We thought people would love having their HOU-WLA cars just on site and just using them, but the demand was lower than expected. So I think what this type of product affords is perhaps the flexibility to expand the car share as demand increases.
Yeah, which I think is quite possible. And if you're just leasing them, then that makes perfect sense, because then you can just move the leases around. Okay, thanks, Chair. Sorry.
Further questions? If not, just real quick, on this question, how many beyond, so the number of stalls in the proposed project are equivalent to what you said, basically one per bedroom, basically, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, up to 2 bedrooms, and then 2-bedroom, larger than 2-bedroom units get two
Right.
shot at two stalls.
And then for HCDA, real quick, the $15 million you said, does that cover the full cost of that garage? Or is it a chunk of it?
It's a chunk of it,
And where's the rest of the funding come from?
from the other part of the financing and capital stack.
Yeah, the 15 million is not direct construction costs, it's equity to be applied against the construction loan. So it's.
So the rest of it's
part
basically
of the equity
financed
stack.
by the full project?
Yeah,
Right,
on
yeah.
page 6 of your testimony, I think the capital stack is all
Yeah.
listed there.
Yeah. Have you guys looked at other means of financing for that portion, which is the garage and I think you said commercial space, is that right?
We have not, but I think, we considered as part of the capital stack, like private equity financing, but I think we did discuss that.
We're trying to minimize the
Yeah.
amount of private equity
Yeah,
because it's very
because cost,
expensive.
and that's what I was going to say. The cost is too expensive.
I guess I mean on the state side, we have a number of different funding mechanisms and
Yeah.
potential options.
And as to that 15 million in state equity, it's not a subsidy, it's state equity. It was in last year's budget, it's there. We just haven't drawn down on it yet, pending this project moving along.
Yeah.
And that amount covers, I believe, the state HCD also in commercial
Commercial,
space.
yes.
Yeah. What was the full cost of just the parking structure portion?
I'm going to say it was about 40 million or so. That's what I last heard.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
We're funding like a third roughly.
Yeah. And we're going to get the profits. I mean, we're going to get all the revenues from the parking
Yeah.
garage and the commercial space. So we're in effect buying an asset.
Yeah. So my point with that is if we funded the entire, that portion of the project using whatever other mechanisms and so forth, and you guys would be able to decrease the per unit cost by that additional 2/3 of that parking structure cost.
I'm not sure of exact math.
But ballpark, that's sort of the idea.
Well, we'd love to work with you and HCDA's opportunities.
Yeah.
We're looking for that, whatever we can do to help reduce buyer's costs.
Yeah, maybe we can look at some of that math later. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is this lease land state-owned?
It is owned by HCDA. We acquired the land. About a
Was
year.
that the Mauka portion?
It is.
Yeah, the Mauka side,
It is,
yeah.
it's
Okay,
Warden and Copy land, so it's
okay.
Mauka land. We did acquire it.
Okay, that's part of the property then? Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, if you were able to do that and whatever that delta is, let's say for the $15 million I don't know, whatever you're reducing, how many units is it in total?
300,
70, about 370 something.
Yeah, so 15 million divided by that many units, right, is theoretically what is being saved by the state coming in for that portion. So multiply that by 3 roughly, and you'd be able to reduce that additional cost per unit by that number, just generally speaking, back of the napkin. Which means, well, I guess the question then is, could some of the concessions that the bill is here for to make the project viable, then, such as, terms of affordability and so forth, be extended and increase, so you have greater affordability and more access for people in the long run by going that route?
Yeah, maybe first things first. I think we're looking at we're focusing our efforts on getting this
Yeah, okay,
bill
okay,
passed.
we'll follow up later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, that's a
very
great
much.
idea. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody. Let's move on to the next measure on the agenda, SB 3327, relating to HCDA, which requires HCDA, when planning and developing housing, to plan for complete communities that include various aspects supporting quality of life. On 3327, testifying first is DLNR. Thank you. Up next is HCDA.
Chair, Vice Chair. We had the opportunity to review Senate Bill 3227, and we understand the intent of 3227. So we really offer comments. Some of the, goals and projects that this bill envisions are definitely good projects, but what we have concerns about is a lot of these things would normally be part of, some kind of planning effort. What does the community want? Do they really want these things? And then we would try to implement it rather than it being implemented or directed by legislation. Also, with respect to one of the projects that we're working on, a supportive housing project, if we were to implement some of these things, it could end up resulting in more cost to that project and also some delays. So those are the concerns we have, Senator.
Thank you.
But appreciate the intent.
Up next is Housing Hawaii's Future. Thank you. That's everyone who had signed up to testify on SB 3327. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in this measure? Seeing none other questions.
I have a question for Director Nakamoto.
Good afternoon, Senator Elefante.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair, for allowing me this question. HCDA's current policy now on open space and parking, does open space or a park on the development project count as your open space park requirement?
So we have an open space requirement for developments. It has to be, I think, unobstructed, space. I don't know if it counts, I'm not sure whether it counts for park space, but it does count as open space on the project. Parking, as I kind of mentioned in an earlier bill, the current Mauka area rules, I think we took away parking minimums for our project. Took away parking.
If you can find out what the current policy is
Okay.
on open space and park, if HCDA does count open space and park requirement to be built on property as part of their park dedication or open space?
Okay, I can
Or
find
does HCDA look at other means and alternatives working with the respective county to funnel projects that way in terms of their open space park requirement that way? Thank
Sure.
you.
I can
Thank you,
find
Chair.
out, Senator.
Sure. Further questions? If not, Director, if you come back.
Sorry.
We've had this conversation too many times to let you off that easy.
I was wishing.
Yeah. Thanks. We can follow up on this offline, but you had said basically a minute ago that these sorts of things, community amenities and infrastructure and so forth, ought to be part of the kind of broader planning process for a community, is that right?
It should be.
Right.
Yeah, it should be.
Right. The way I'm reading the measure, and I quote, whenever the authority determines to undertake or causes to be undertaken, planning and development to include in a district or community, to include housing in a district or community, the authority shall endeavor to plan for complete communities that include, to the extent possible, various and sundry things in the bill. Is that not the planning process that you're talking about?
That is, but, you know, what I'm saying is that some of these things the community may not want. The community may not want some of these things, and that has to come out in the planning process.
Sure. Can I just ask, when you were planning Kaka'ako at the time, when it was still industrial, back, well, not you, your predecessors, initially.
My way back predecessor.
Right,
yes.
right, right. How did they know who was going to be, or what the community wanted when there was no community that was there?
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of part of the planning process, how they engaged with the community, but I know the plan for Mauka went through a lot of iterations over the years, starting from 1982, and then it was amended many times after that. But I'm sure they looked at generally what things might be in the community, what the community might want, and they probably had some outreach to community at some point. Not maybe necessarily people who live in Kaka'ako, because there wasn't much of a census tract in Kaka'ako at the time, but maybe outside of the district. And I think that's valid.
And then secondly, in a, let's say, more modern iteration where there is someone living in the area, how would they know or be able to comment on something if it's not being put in front of them in some sort of proposed plan that includes different elements that they could weigh in on?
You know, I think many of these elements as part of a planning process could be put in front of them, and they could, as part of, let's say, a kind of a visioning exercise, it could be, and kind of come out organically out of that planning process. But I think in legislation, I have a little bit of concerns that it feels too mandated.
So the last piece I'll touch in on specifically is that, I'll go back to that language, that's the actual operative language in the bill, which is whenever the authority determines to undertake or causes to be undertaken planning and development to include housing in a district or community, the authority shall endeavor to plan for complete communities that include, to the extent appropriate, meaning none of this stuff is actually mandated. You just have to consider it and try and incorporate what would be appropriate. Is that right?
Aspirational? Aspirational, you mean?
Well, do you read the bill that way?
I don't, you know, when it's in statute like this, I think I see the word endeavor, but I wonder how that's going to later on turn into something more mandatory and directive.
And then lastly, to some of the comments that say this could, or specific elements or something, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to put words in your mouth, could increase the cost of, is it housing?
Could, yep.
How does that work?
Well, I mean, to the extent some of these things have to be put in by infrastructure for utilities and all that, it could have an impact on housing, on the cost of a particular project, if the developer has to do it.
But isn't the intent of this entire measure to absolve developers of having to do that in the first place and use alternative sources of financing?
But then, you know, where's the financing going to come from to do it?
Reading through the preamble of the bill, aren't there about 6 or 8 different described
I'm just not,
paths?
yeah, I'm just not sure if that's practical.
Are you aware this is best practice in most other places outside of Hawaii?
It may be best practices elsewhere, but it may not be the right practice here.
You know, a year ago, and I thank you for the committee's indulgence on this, because we had a extensive set of conversations around these kind of strategies. At the time, you said you hadn't talked with a counterpart at a similar agency anywhere else in the rest of the country at that point. Have you since had an opportunity to?
I have not, because I think I was looking for the other counterpart agency to talk to. If we're given agency counterpart agency to talk to about this, we're glad to talk to them or visit them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yes, well, we
Vice Chair.
talked about where we are today, and I think you were here, I was here during our Cayetano's time when the development for the aquarium, and I think Mary Alice knows this as well, the aquarium was to be built on the Mackay side where the buildings on Mackay, that includes the Cancer Research Center. And the issue at that time was always parking. And the aquarium development did not include parking at that time. And the urge was to move parking on Mauka of the street. And so the need there for parking was always an issue. And I'm looking at the bill right now too, is we're also encouraging commercial spaces, retailing, food trucks, temporary business fronts. But if we're not going to be building parking anywhere within the area, what's going to happen to the commercial sector if we're going to continue to have the benefit of a developer to come in, spend their money, build something, and try to get their monies back with commercial centers, but parking is, to me, is always going to be an issue in Kaka'ako, no matter what.
So, Senator, I can speak to Mackay. Ever since the JAPSOM was built, Cancer Center was built, there was, always a need, now a need
Sure.
for more parking. And so we own Lot C in Kaka'ako, Mackay, where the Entrepreneur Sandbox is. And we're trying to push for funds to build a district parking structure and transit hub on Lot C where the Entrepreneurs
Well,
Sandbox.
that's good. At least someone is providing parking somewhere, close by within the region. But just to share that, because then it's, to me, if someone wants to purchase the project, a place like the Chang's, it kind of makes sense. But we always have to remember that there's going to be need for parking somewhere within the region. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the last measure on the agenda, SB 2423, relating to zoning, which prohibits counties from imposing certain lot requirements and dwelling specifications on parcels of land located within the urban district, and does a few other things. Testifying first on SB 2423 is Grassroots Institute of Hawaii. In person? If not, Housing Hawaii's Future. Thank you. Hawaii Appleseed Center for Law and Economic Justice. And that is everyone who had signed up to testify on 2423. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in this measure? Seeing none, other questions?
I'm surprised that we don't have counties' inputs on this measure. Do we have some late testimonies from the counties?
I'll just note, there are council members who have submitted written testimony on this measure. And the city Department of Planning and Permitting as well.
Not neighbor islands, though. I only see names, it doesn't say
sorry,
the counties.
Yeah, so for the record, Kauai County Council member Felicia Cowden testified on this measure, as well as, City and County of Honolulu, Department of Planning and Permitting, and so forth. Okay, if there's no questions for anyone, that is the end of our agenda. Why don't we, which one, take a recess, you want to go?
Ready? 2 p.m.
Okay, why don't we, well, I'll turn it back over to my co-chair.
Okay, so we're ready to do some decision-making. We'll start with the first bill, Senate Bill 2068. Having conferred, Chair's recommendation will be to pass this measure with amendments. The amendments include requiring a list of parcels to be redeveloped, the number of units to be developed on each, and dates to be developed sufficient to meet Hawaii's housing needs for the next 100 years.
Same.
In the committee report, we'll also note the appropriation request for $250,000. Any discussion, any questions? Okay, so again, for Senate Bill 2068, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 2068, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendment. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Elefante.
Aye.
Senator Rhodes. Senator Favela is excused. Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee on Waterland, same recommendation.
Okay, for the Committee on Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts, Chair's recommendation to pass SB 2068 with amendments. Chair Lee.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Lamusao.
Aye.
And Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
The measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Our next measure is Senate Bill 2227 relating to rental assistance. Having conferred, Chair's recommendation again will be to pass this measure with amendments. We have technical, non-substantive amendments for the purposes of clarity and consistency. We'll take the Attorney General's recommendation to describe the fees instead as taxes. We'll insert a blank appropriation per HPHA to establish 4 FTE permanent public housing specialist 2 positions and 1 FTE permanent public housing specialist 4 supervisor position to support the administration of the program. On page 3, lines 7 and 20, we'll double the transaction tax. We'll also defect the date, and in the committee report, we'll note the request for an appropriation of $284,748 for the 4 permanent public housing specialist 2 positions and 1 permanent public housing specialist 4 position. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Chair's recommendation for Senate Bill 2227 is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 2227, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments, with noting the presence of all members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? With all others voting aye, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Committee on Waterland, same recommendation.
The Chair's recommendation on SB 2227 to pass with amendments with 5 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes? Hearing none. Mr. Chair, measure is adopted.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the water land lease bills. Up next is SB 2061 relating to residential condominiums. This is the 99-year leasehold program, making various amendments. I'd like to recommend, with the committee's indulgence, moving this forward with amendments. First, we'll note AARP's comments in the committee report. This measure goes on to the Consumer Protection Committee, so we'll flag for them to take a look at the penalties for violations, and as AARP noted. Secondly, we'll make an amendment, again, pursuant to AARP's comments, to establish rules requiring buyback pricing. And for the moment, we'll put in a placeholder and just say similar to other existing state agency buyback pricing formulas. We'll note this already has a defective date on it, and we'll make tech amendments and hopefully get this on to the next committee so that the conversation can continue. Any comments and questions or discussion? If not, Vice Chair.
The Committee on Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts, Chair's recommendation on SB 2061 is to pass with amendments, with 5 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes? Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And for the Committee on Housing, same recommendation for Senate Bill 2061 to pass with amendments. Any discussion or comments? Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 2061, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendment. Chair votes aye. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? With all others voting aye, recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next measure, SB, where is it?
3327.
Yes, SB 3327 relating to the Hawaii Community Development Authority, which is requiring HCDA to plan for complete communities that include various aspects supporting quality of life. And similarly, I'd like to recommend moving this forward with amendments, and with the committee's indulgence, send this on to the Ways and Means Committee for further discussion. Appreciate the discussion from the chair and the agency. I think the intent here is to really take advantage of a lot of the proven best practices employed by just about every other development agency around the country that can help do some of the things that it's great to see, I think in the first conversation, HCDA start to do, looking at, for example, flexible parking and commercial leasing that you had mentioned. But do that from a planning perspective to be able to take advantage not only of those singular opportunities, but to provide for much bigger potential savings. As we had mentioned, for example, if HCDA does find innovative financing tools, which you've been empowered with, as well as other things like lease rent and stuff, you should be able to finance without additional cost to taxpayers, additional infrastructure, which can help lower the cost of a lot of these units. As we had seen, for example, if that parking garage was fully financed that way, then you'd have 3 times as much theoretical savings that could be applied to the actual units and the project itself. So it seems there's quite a bit of opportunity there for HCDA to consider. So with that, we'd just like to move it along with amendments, making change on page 5, line 18, and amending that to read, from which minimum requirements for non-ADA parking stalls shall be prohibited, provided that, which is basically a technical fix, and then adding in a defective date. So that as this goes on, we can get more conversation going.
Chair's recommendation on the SB 3327 for the Committee on Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts with 5 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes? Okay, measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for the Committee on Housing for Senate Bill 3327 to pass with amendments. Any discussion? None. Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 3327, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments. Chair votes aye. Any members voting with reservations? Reservations from Senator Favela. Any others? Any voting no? Without others voting aye, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. And then finally, moving on to the last measure on the agenda, SB 2423, relating to zoning, which is the making a number of amendments to the counties. We'd like to move this forward with amendments, addressing some of the concerns raised by DPP and the county in their testimony. So we'd like to recommend, or we'd like to clarify that the provisions in Section 2 regarding lot size, first of all, are applying to zoning for housing. So the questions raised about industrial zoning and commercial and other things are not the intended target of this measure. Secondly, amend the requirements for minimum lot size to 2,500 square feet, which should be fairly simplified for the counties to handle. And so we'll remove the width and depth requirements in B and C accordingly. We'll also add language that would have the counties permit ADUs up to 1,250 square feet, especially for those families where you have a lot more people in a house. We'll also add in a new subsection E, which is limiting counties' ability to restrict solid fences or walls inside or backyards to less than 7.5 feet in height. The intent here is if you're having additional folks build ADUs or other things up to their lot lines, it provides a little more ability for residents to maintain privacy and other things that we've seen some of the neighbor islands do. Finally, we'll remove subsection H regarding open space and permeable surface requirements, and remove subsection 2 regarding minimum stories and height, and add in a defective date. And hopefully this simplifies the measure enough that we can move it along for further discussion in the Judiciary Committee, should it be taken up there. So with that, are there any questions or concerns on this measure? Seeing none, Vice
Okay.
Chair.
For the Committee on Water, Land, Culture, and the Arts, Chair's recommendation to pass SB 2423 with amendments with 5 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes? Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for the Committee on Housing for Senate Bill 2423 to pass with amendments. Any discussion or question? Okay, Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 2423, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendment. Chair votes aye. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Without others voting aye, recommendations adopted.
Thank you very much. I believe that takes us out. We're adjourned.